alerts. The likelihood of one happening in 2010 is very high as we see it. And we're not alarmist. We've called it in 2001, and we believe that there's going to be one now. We also see what's going on in the news, the reports coming out about food shortages. Look at commodity prices. Look at the reports coming out of water shortages, of crop failures. Look at what's going on with crime. That's, now that we're finding out they're cooking the numbers, as they have in New York, making it look like crime isn't increasing. Right here in Kingston, New York, 2 days ago, there were 8 burglaries. And how do I know this? Because the place across the street from us, and we're in one of the most historic centers in the United States, the only place where on each corner there's a stone building in perfect repair from the 16 and 1700s. In this area, right across the street, the restaurant was robbed. I have security cameras outside. I'm a believer of Second Amendment rights, and we have security in our place. We're pretty well protected. But what happened was the police came to our place to see if our security cameras picked anything up. So that's how I learned about how many burglaries happened that night. So this is going to happen around the world and across the country. People better learn to protect themselves, to think about survival. This doesn't mean heading to the hills with pork and beans and AK-47s. It means taking practical measures to protect yourself and your family, whether it's a financial crisis, a food crisis, a cyber attack, or a war, and everything in between.
Gerald, let's talk about some of those practical measures, and then I want to get back to this because you're prepared virtually for anything because of your training. But here it is, you make your way out onto the street, and you see these people who just didn't think it through. And I'll give you another example. In the early 90s, I was on a high-rise across from the Pacific Stock Exchange in City Hall in Los Angeles when the big L.A. earthquake happened. Tommy Lasorda had a place there, Michelle Pfeiffer, and I had a guest staying with me from out of town. It happened in the middle of the night, and it was very fast. It was very violent. But I was there with a guest, and I said, don't go into the hallway, because I guarantee you everybody's in the hallway and they're naked. Watch, as soon as it's over, we'll go out there. And when it ended, we kick open the door, and sure enough, Gerald, we got a good laugh because everybody's in the hallway, and at that moment it hit them, we're naked. We're in the hallway. We didn't really think this through. Hi, neighbors. And so what I'm saying is you make your way out onto the street, and you're seeing victims. People who really didn't think it through, who are getting mugged, who are getting violently accosted. People, and this is what the show is about to some degree, people need to prepare themselves mentally, as you said, Gerald, so that they don't become victims when the breakdown comes. So talk to listeners about how they can prepare themselves, please.
Well, let's talk about the economic collapse that's happening. There's no recovery. As we've said over and over, it's a cover-up. Bailout bucks, stimulus money worldwide. India, China. China just announced they're going to throw some more dough into the pot. The UK, the US, Australia, South Korea, Japan, name the country. They're dumping dough into it, that's all. Look what's going on in Greece. Greece is a reality. Yeah, sure, there's shenanigans going on with the Goldman Sachs gang and hedge funds and others that are shorting the euro, throwing out these credit default swaps and making these kind of situations much worse. But let's look at Greece with its budget deficit, a yearly deficit exceeding its GDP by 13%, when according to the Euro Economic Monetary Union, it's only supposed to be 3%. Oh, isn't that terrible? Hey, what is it over in England? Of course, they're not an EU member, but what is it over there? What kind of sovereign debt problem do they have? Oh, you mean it's only 12.5% over there? Oh, and how about in the good old USA? Well, yearly budget deficit to GDP approaching 11%. There's a sovereign debt crisis. There's no way out of this. The systems are collapsing. What's going to happen if they close the banks? Are people going to have any money? And if they do get their money, they're going to do like they did in Argentina when that system collapsed back in 2000? Oh, don't worry, your money's guaranteed by the FDIC. But you just can't get it out all at once. Don't worry about it. You'll get it out. But when you get it out, it'll be devalued, like they did when they closed the banks for a bank holiday. I love the language, holiday. Yeah, you can't get your money out like they did in 1933. And when you did get it out, it was devalued. Because as everyone knows who cares, what they did was they went and made people sell their gold to the government for $20.67 an ounce. Once they got it all in, and if you didn't sell it, you go to jail and be fined twice the amount that they found you with. Once they got it all in, or thought they did, they raised the benchmark price to $35 an ounce, which means that your money was just devalued. So those are the kind of things to prepare for. Do you have money on hand? You think you're going to go to an ATM machine and get it out? You better grow up. You think your local politician is going to lead you to safety? Do you think your members of Congress are going to be there to help you? You're on your own. And as I said, Eric, there was a moment in this time when I realized that I could die. And my only emotion was, damn it. That was the kind of thing, I could die. It wasn't panic. It wasn't, oh, my God, I'm going to die. I just kept moving forward. And that's what people need to do. And as I mentioned, the community aspect, the network is very important. Look, I would have still been in Santiago now because my flights would have been canceled. They barely have opened up the airport now. They have tents out there that they're processing people through. I would have been in another week or so. But because of the network, we got out on time, got out safe.
As you said in this release, police were nowhere to be seen. And you've repeatedly warned the listeners over and over again, they're on their own, as you just said. Nobody's going to be there to protect them. And that is why people need to be prepared. What are some practical things, Gerald, before we move on, that people can do to be prepared? I mean, you talked about a network, for instance, that you're involved in. Are there networks that people can join?
Whether even if it's a book club. Like-minded people say, listen, things are tough out there. We better start thinking about what if something really terrible happens? What are we going to do? What if somebody sabotages a nuclear power plant? Oh, you don't think that could happen because Homeland Security's on the job? Janet Napolitano, big sis? I mean, come on, grow up. This woman's a nothing. What is she? She's a political hack. They're all hacks. So what if they do blow up a nuclear power plant? What if there's a dirty bomb exploded in your city? Or if there's a terrorist attack of other magnitude? What if they close the banks? What if there is a war? What if? So you plan for the worst. Do it with a like-minded group. It doesn't have to be, we're going to have enough food to last us through, a year. For me, I have about 3 weeks worth of dried fruit, nuts, and water. Because if things get worse than that, and I got to live in that kind of conditions, I'm going to be in another country. I'll be out of here. I don't want to live in those kind of conditions. So for me, 3 weeks is plenty. And again, be prepared for the unexpected. As I mentioned, we estimated it was 90 seconds this thing lasted. We estimate, my buddy and I estimate that we got out of there, we were down to the 3rd floor, which was the next floor that took you outside, within 3 minutes. I mean, that's, as best as I can remember. But when we got down to the 3rd floor, that exit was barricaded. Then we had to find another strategy. So right away, your best laid plans are blown apart. And then when we did get outside, there's these marauding gangs screaming down the streets. Again, you being survivors, we disappeared. We disappeared into the shrubbery around the hotel and snuck our way back around the front and into the gates. So, and remember what's going on. This is 3:30 in the morning. It happens. They have a skeleton crew on. There's hardly anybody there. There's a handful of people running the hotel. So you're on your own, and you have to keep thinking of that. So in these times, I would recommend that people really consider, do you really have enough cash on hand? Do you believe in gold? If so, do you have it in your possession? I'm a believer in Second Amendment rights. I have my weapons. Do you have yours? What if 30 guys come crashing through your house? You think you're going to stop them? You look at these silly commercials they have on, where a guy breaks in and a woman picks up the phone and she dials 911 or a security agency, and they're going to come over. Well, that doesn't happen like that. So those are the kind of things people need to be prepared for.
You know, Gerald, you were in Uruguay as part of this trip, and as you know, it's agrarian there. Everything is grown fresh. They have a massive underground aquifer, second only to probably Florida's, which is the largest in the world, I believe. And so they don't have the